Hello, and welcome to today's live coaching call and a community conversation. Today, we are going to be talking about our mothers, or maybe our grandmothers, and ourselves, and even include our daughters in a little bit of today's conversation, if need be, about aging and us becoming sick as we age, and watching our mothers go through some of what they're going through in their current situation as they're aging as well, and how we manage that as daughters, and how we can model what we are doing for our daughters or sons coming up as well. So welcome. My name is Diane Parham. I am the creator of the online course and community, the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman. And here we talk about all things pertaining to us as aging women. And we talk a lot about sensitive topics and topics that are near and dear to our heart. And I know today's conversation is going to be one of those kind of topics. I know the title of today's video can be triggering for some. And so I want to make sure that we come to today's conversation understanding that this is a very present topic for a lot of women here in our community. It is one that is causing us to kind of see our own aging process come to life as well. And I hope that what we talk about today can help you if you are in this situation with a mother that you see aging, or maybe even your father, and how we can manage this moving forward, and some choices that we get to make. So welcome. Please make sure you're using the comment section today to express what it is you want to express. Ask a question, introduce yourself, let me know if you're a graduate and you're coming back, or maybe if you're planning on joining one of our upcoming courses. I always like to make sure that you feel seen and heard in our community. And then if you haven't done so yet, please make sure you have subscribed on YouTube, hit that little bell notification, and on Facebook, always make sure you're following as well. I do post the title of the topic we're going to talk about usually the night before, so that way you will get a reminder if you are in fact set up to get those notifications. Okay, so let's talk about aging mothers. So a lot of us are in this season where we are seeing our mothers age, or maybe we are the caregiver for maybe an elderly member of our family, and what that does to our own mindset and our own thoughts about how we are aging. And this conversation came up for two reasons. One, because I am a huge fan of the show This Is Us, and I'm watching this happen in real time on that show. And it makes me think about my own aging process and what I see for the future of my children as I'm going through a season of, probably needing them as caregivers as well. And then it is the statement, this statement does come up in this community a lot with a lot of the women that I do one-on-one coaching with and mindset coaching with. And the statement is, I'm watching my mother age and I don't want to age the same way. So let's talk about our mothers and how they grew up, right? And why it is they end up in this in the season that they're in when they're aging. And if we think about the youth that we had, right? And we talk here a lot about the diet industry and not eating fat, and how we did desperate things to look a certain way. And all of those things are going to be part of our story, and are a definite explanation of why so many of us are struggling in the season that we're in now, just going through menopause, right? So let's go back a couple of decades, right? And let's think about what our moms went through when they were coming up as teenage girls, and when they were in their 20s, and they were, in their childbearing years, and they were going through menopause. And at that time, no one was talking about it, and the things that they had to do to manage what they felt about their body and their hormones and all the signs and signals that we're suffering through, but now at least can have a conversation and some relief with it. And they didn't have that same opportunity. And I do believe that is why so many of our mothers are aging in the way in which they're aging, with dementia and really not aging well, right? And we talk about that here a lot, that the decisions we're making today and the things that we're going to do today are for that future self. So with everything that we have the power and control over, we're going to be able to, the best we can, dictate how we want to age and that future self we see for ourselves. And I don't believe that our generation of mothers have that same opportunity, or had that same opportunity. For a lot of them, they were the first like working class mother, right? Managing kids, managing a household, managing a career. They were mothers and young women during the convenience food era, right? Where a lot of, food now became a convenience thing. And how great was that? Because moms are like, wearing so many hats and are so busy. And I think a lot of that has caught up, right, with how it is. They are becoming sick as they age. And being sick and aging don't necessarily have to go together. We do, and this is where I think our generation of mothers growing old can really change the dialogue to that, right? Like we now have information available to us that our poor mothers didn't have. We now have resources we can lean on that our poor mothers didn't have. And so we really do have the opportunity to age in a different way. So if you're watching your mother age and the way she's aging is not the way you think aging should go, then I need us as a community of women to really think about the choices that we're making today and what we want to model for our daughters coming up behind us and our sons coming up behind us, right? My husband and I made a decision when we started intermittent fasting about 6 or 7 years ago that we want to make sure that we are doing what we can do and taking the burden and the responsibility of how it is we care for ourselves and how we age now so that our kids don't have to bear that burden when we get older, like, right? Because for my husband and I, we had our kids later in life. We started having kids in our mid 30s and we had our last kid in our early 40s. And so if you do the math on that, my mom had me when she was in her 20s, right? So we have a 20-year kind of gap or delay in what and how it is we're going to age just from the clock with our own kids and our grandkids, right? And how we see ourselves in the future really is going to be dependent on the choices that we make today. So if you find that you are caring for an aging mother, I want you to think about what your mom went through, right? And I know for a lot of caregivers, it can be very emotionally demanding. It can be very mentally demanding. It can be very physically demanding, right? And a lot of what our moms are going through today is not necessarily their fault, right? They had no idea. Didn't have the resources. They don't have the some of the medical advances even, or the information that we have we're privy to today. So I want you to pause and give your mom some grace in that for sure. And then do your best to make sure you're caring for yourself and making informed choices about how it is you do decide you want to age. I know that my grandmothers aged very well, right? My grandmothers lived into their early to mid 90s. I remember my grandmothers in my life growing up. Again, my mom, had me when she was younger. So I did have the advantage of having a grandmother around who was younger. And watching my grandmother's age was a lot different than what I see today for our generation of mothers aging, right? My grandmothers aged very well. They lived a very full life well into their 90s, and then they just got tired, right? And their bodies just couldn't go any longer. And that's really how it is we should be aging, right? So I want us to think about that. Think about what generations of women have gone through and then how those generations of women have aged and which ones got sick and at what point in their life and which ones were able to really live a full, happy, active life without getting sick prematurely. And that's what I really want us to focus on when we think about what our poor mothers are going through, right? And why is it that they've ended up that way? And we say that here too, right? So many of us in our 40s, 50s, and 60s are like, how did we get here? How did this happen to us? And when we take the time to think about our food story and our food history and some of the practices that we, have ingrained in us because of the way we aged and the era in which we grew up in, it makes sense why so many of us are ending up so sick and so frustrated during this season of hormonal change. And when we put those pieces together and draw a line in the sand and say, no more, right? I don't want any more of this. I'm going to consciously make some changes for my future self. Then in fact, you can make those conscious changes and you can change your legacy and what it is you want to have for yourself in the future. I don't want my daughter to ever say to me, I don't want to age the same way my mom did, or I don't want to get sick the same way my mom did. I want my daughter to talk about me the way I talk about my grandmother's. Like, she lived a full, happy, active life well into her 90s, and then her body just got tired and it was her time, right? And so let's think about that. What kind of choices are we making? What are we taking advantage of actively as far as information we have available to us, resources that we have available to us, and then the mindset that we are going to create every single day about the decisions that we are going to make so that we can, in fact, determine the path we want to go on as we age. We do not have to get sick as we age. We do not have to get sick as we age. We can take some precautionary measures, and you can reverse some things that are starting to kind of rear its ugly head if you, in fact, want to change the course of what your legacy is for the children that you have behind you, or even family members and friends that you have behind you. Any questions? Let me know. I have some books that I want to kind of share with you guys too. The first book, Why We Can't Sleep, was a game changer for me as a woman. It is not a book about how to sleep better or sleep at all. It's about what keeps us up at night in our mind worrying, right? So it's the little, subheader is Women's New Midlife Crisis. It's an amazing book that will really help you understand how it is generations of women end up almost always the same way at a certain season of their life. And it is because of how we were conditioned, society situation as we were coming up as young women, how it is aging is really demonstrated in the world, right? And the resources and information we have available to us. So I highly recommend this book. It'll give you mindset permission to give yourself some grace and to really unpack some things in your life that maybe you're not happy with, and give yourself permission to understand that that was part of what you were conditioned to become. And you have the power to change that conditioning if it is no longer serving you. The second book I have not read yet, but I ordered it. It's called Holding the Net, Caring for a Mother on the Tightrope of Aging. I think even if you don't have a mother that is currently aging, or maybe your mother has already passed, or you don't have a relationship with your mother, I think reading these books and setting ourselves up with a map of the road that we have ahead of us can also help us with how it is we want to manage the relationships we have with our kids or our nieces and nephews, or whoever it is that is the younger generation coming behind us. I don't think these books always have to apply to a mother that you're currently caring for. I think this information is very valuable to us in the season of life that we are in today, so we can see a little bit of the future. And then when your aging parent needs help, all great resources for us to just create a mind map of the road ahead of us and really have an opportunity to predict how it is we see ourselves aging. And do we want to be sick as we age, or do we want to start today making some different choices? We know now. You guys can go ahead and write down those copies those titles if you want. I don't do Amazon links, so you guys can just write down the titles or come back and reference this video if you need a reminder. But we know that 2/3 of Alzheimer's patients are women, right? We know that as a fact. What can we do to change those statistics for ourselves? And you guys, here in this community, intermittent fasting, it has proven to be that thing, right? It's proven to be that thing that just helps us women age more successfully. What kind of food or nutritional choices can you make for yourself, knowing what certain things are doing to our bodies today? What kind of environmental changes can you make to ensure that your brain is going to stay intact? If you haven't seen Not So Pretty yet, it's, I think, an HBO documentary. Just Google it. You can figure out whatever streaming service it is on. I highly recommend watching that documentary. It's fascinating. Some of the very simple things that we aren't paying attention to that are in fact making us become sicker faster as we are aging. very simple little environmental switches and buying habit changes that we can make, not only for ourselves, but yes, for our mothers as well. I think every little thing that we can do to change every day's habits and everyday exposures are just going to be that thing that's going to give us that one more day of advantage of letting our body heal itself. So intermittent fasting, we know, works. Making sure that you're making some environmental changes for you and the people that you love, before you and after you, right? So our kids as well, making those nutritional choices, because we just know now the information is there for us. We can choose to ignore it if we want to, but then we have to accept those consequences. And I don't think many of us want to play Russian roulette with our future self. So make sure, if you have the information, that you're making very conscious decisions about making just some subtle changes. Remember, you do not have to live a life that's not fun in order to be healthy. You just have to do your research and make some swap outs from things that we just know aren't serving us to things that could serve you better. So let me see if we have any comments here today. I hope this helps. We all are going to be in this season, right? Again, if it's not us, taking care of someone else, is how do we want to be taken care of by the people that are coming up behind us that also love us, right? And how do we want to show up for ourselves, and how long do we want to show up in that way? And what conscious decisions can we make today, and what mindset shifts can we focus on to ensure we have the best shot at the best life for the next 50 years, right? I don't know if I want to live to be 112 or 106, but man, I sure would like to have 3 or 4 more decades with my kids and possibly grandkids. And I want to show up in the best version of me that I possibly can. So I'm making sure that I'm staying informed and making those mindset shifts myself. Okay, let's see. Eloise, hello everyone. So glad to be here today. I'm an August 2020 grad, August 2021 grad. She's a double grad. We love that. And from Texas City, Texas. Girlfriend, it's always so good to have you here with us. I love the fact that you are living this lifestyle for yourself as well, and did that little reminder and refresher course for yourself. It's always so good to come back to the basics, right? Living a healthy life is so easy. In my opinion, it's so much easier than living an unhealthy life. And so you just got to do the front end work and then just rinse and repeat things. And I know, girlfriend, you are definitely doing that and taking advantage of it. Tina, hello from South Dakota, November 2021 grad, current mindset shift student. We love our mindset shift course. I'll see you tonight. My mom's physical limitations are one of my motivations to master this lifestyle. 100%, right? And I think that is a great mindset shift. Oftentimes, we think about aging parents and caring for sick parents, and everything seems doomsday-y. And again, there's a lot of things that happen to our parents or happening to our parents that are not necessarily their fault. They grew up through a time that wasn't necessarily to their advantage for aging, right? And things are definitely shifting. So use this time as motivation. Use this time to give them grace. Use this time to heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, if it need be, about the relationship you have with your parents or even maybe your own kids, and really turn this season of caregiving into something that you can benefit from as well, and make those informed choices for yourself. And then remember what it was like to care for them. And do we want to pass that down to our kids coming up behind us? Patrice, hi Diane, September 2021 grad, sorry. My mom passed away 17 years ago in very bad health at 56 years old. I started IF so I won't repeat her mistakes. She had a bad addiction to food. Yeah, again, and Patrice, this is where I always want to say, we have to give our moms some grace, right? Because they just didn't know. They didn't know. They were being marketed to and sold to, and the lifestyle for women, 17 years ago, even, I'm 56, 17 years ago, things were really different, even for us. So imagine 27 years ago, 37 years ago, 47 years ago for your mom, right? And what we were told to do to take care of our bodies. And sadly, around the world, our own country here in the United States, women's health and overall well-being is not always on the forefront, right? So we have to dig in deep to understand and know how our bodies work chemically and hormonally. We know how we need to learn how to take care of ourselves because no one is coming to help us or rescue us, right? We have to be our own advocates for that. And so I would say definitely take those mistakes, as you call them, that your mom made as just misinformation, and know that she probably did the best that she can. And food addiction is a very real thing. It is a very real thing. And so, use that as your power to, again, create a legacy that's different for our families. Oftentimes, we think that diseases and conditions and all those things that we manage as we get old are genetically passed down to us. And what we're finding now is that their lifestyle passed down to us, right? So oftentimes the diseases that we inherit from our parents or maybe grandparents are just the fact that we grew up with the same lifestyle habits. This is why I always say here in this community and urge you guys to change tradition, right? We don't have to do things the way our family did around the holidays. We don't have to celebrate birthdays the way they used to with big old sheet cakes and ice cream and all those kind of things. Like, we can change those traditions and we can change those habits so we can change the outcome of our family legacy. So I don't want heart disease. I don't want high cholesterol. I don't want a diabetic condition. I don't want dementia and Alzheimer's. If I can do whatever I can to prevent that, I'm going to do that. And that's just a matter of changing some habits and some lifestyles with the information we have available to us today. So I'm so sorry about your mom passing, but I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're going to make a change so that you have a different story to tell for you, for sure. Tina, caregiver for both my mom 79 and grandmother 99. I know, girlfriend, you have your hands full, and you also work in the medical industry. So you're caregiving in all kinds of places. And then the thing that we have to remember when we are in these caregiver positions is we can't care for anyone until we know how to care for ourselves first and foremost. So we can't become depleted. We can't become broken down. We can't become sick trying to care for and save everyone else. We have to take care of ourselves first. So make sure you're eating well, make sure you're managing your stress, make sure you're getting your sleep, make sure you're fasting, make sure you're making good nutritional choices and not based on emotional choices, right? Under pressure or stress or feeling depleted or not cared for yourself. You have to care for you first. Like I said, no one's coming to rescue us. No one's coming to save us. We have to learn how to save ourselves first. And Tina, I know you're doing the work for that, girlfriend, and sending you big hugs because I know you have a lot going on in your life for sure. Okay, so if that's it for today, I hope this conversation helped you. I hope it made you think about how it is we are caring for our mothers as they age and get sick possibly. I hope that you'll think about why it is your mom ended up in that situation. If she is currently sick and you are caregiving for her or watching her maybe decline in her health as she gets older, I believe that we are always the victim of the circumstances in which we grew up in for the most part, and then we get to choose, right? But our mother's generation didn't have those same resources, and taking care of themselves first and self-care and personal development and therapy and mindset shift work and all those kind of things were not as available and as popular or socially accepted as they are today. So now we know we can do better. We can love on them, we can love on ourselves, and then we can make sure that the people behind us who love us won't have to worry about saying things like, I don't want to age like my mom, right? That's my big goal, is for my daughter and my son to say, I'm not going to age like my mom in a bad way. I want them to say, I want to live life the way she lived it, right? And that should be the goal that we have. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks so much for jumping on today. I know today was a little off topic from intermittent fasting, but it all boils down to the same thing, right? We are here to make sure that the choices that we are making will allow us to wake up every single day looking and feeling our best and doing that in our most authentic way. And that does start with us deciding how it is we see our future self, right? and how it is we want to wake up every day is going to be the bottom line of the choices that we make. So keep that on your forefront of your mind today. Make sure you're making those choices. Go grab those books if you need a little something to kind of keep in your head and help you rethink some things that are going on in your life. And then I'll see you guys back here on Monday at noon Central Standard Time, where we'll talk about something about intermittent fasting. I'm sure I'm going to have some great stories to tell you about our current intermittent fasting for today's Aging Woman course members. They are finishing up their first week tomorrow. So I always ask them how they're doing after their first week. And I'll make sure that I come back here on Monday and share with you guys the amazing things that they're feeling and seeing with their new lifestyle that they're creating for themselves. Have a great weekend, you guys, and I'll see you back here on Monday.